To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a soap opera star.
Gracious me, my car has storm damage and I've had to file a claim. Could it possibly get worse? Will my claims team leave me for someone else? Someone less intense?
No. Actually, when you file a claim with Geico, you get your own dedicated claims team who promises to stay with you throughout the process.
Oh, I've never known such loyalty. I can't wait for the second season.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir.
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Outkick the coverage live every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 3 to 6 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Find your local station for Outkick the coverage at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every morning on the iHeartRadio app by searching FSR.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
I am just now witnessing what we referenced in the last hour about the illegal fireworks that were seized.
Oh, yeah.
And then blown up, which whoever came up with the bright idea to do it in a residential neighborhood, that, wow. I mean, we're trying to get to Mars, and yet we see instances of this. It makes me think that it's going to be a long time before we're getting to another planet.
Yeah, not the wisest choice to blow up illegal fireworks in a residential area.
I mean, what could go wrong?
People, structures, power lines, cars, you name it, everything around. But this is the place we're going to blow it up. Yeah. Not the wisest move in the world.
Yeah.
By the way, a guy writes in on Twitter, and he says, Brandon, and he says, let's talk about something other than the NFL. Ratings grab, but there are other sports you could cycle in. Okay.
Oh, I saw cornhole on yesterday.
Yeah.
I was watching that.
So let's get into cornhole took place. And I know, listen, Brady Quinn and I were just about to get into the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen and their effectiveness coming off that World Series appearance in Texas last year. So I know we're going to be getting into that come next hour. And then also, I think,
there was a tremendous playoff in golf, all right? If you didn't watch the Rocket Mortgage Classic,
100%.
Obviously there was a big-time playoff there. Cameron Davis ended up taking home that $1.4 million purse. However, all that being said, you don't care. No one else cares, okay? It wasn't a big name in golf. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to break it to you. As much as I love golf, I love playing it, I love watching it, or any of these other sports, cornhole, throw that in the mix too. There's only a few sports that actually get your blood to boil, okay? And that's the ones we're going to touch on.
Yeah, listen, Brandon, just sit back and enjoy the ride, babe. All right, just enjoy the ride. All right, this is a roller coaster from outer space, all right? Just sit back and enjoy the ride. We don't know where this conversation's going to go. We could be sitting here breaking down who's going to win the AFC North 1 minute and then talking about that slob who shoved food in his mouth yesterday on national television only to have the feed go out on ESPN at the end. Like, you never know where this conversation going to go.
Romo gets $10 million a year. I'm getting a sex change.
All right, that was taken completely out of context, okay?
Is that what you were referencing earlier? You're saying that drop that you thought wasn't in the system anymore?
I didn't believe that Tony Romo was going to get that type of money from CBS. Okay?
Clearly.
Yeah,
Clearly.
And so I was willing to put my gender on the line, all right, in order to prove a point. And I don't feel like I'm going to pay that bet off. I don't think that's, I don't think it's happening.
I hope you don't. But again, that's your choice. Everyone feels differently about that, so you might feel differently.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So I would like to call out a lie that was being told in the NFL. So they come out with these odds, right? There's these odds for, it could be anything from MVP to divisions to quarterbacks starting in week 1, all sorts of stuff. And it's fun because you can build a conversation around it and you can take a look at this stuff. And I think with the gambling becoming so much more popular and prevalent in all sports, but in particular the NFL, You really, there isn't any more of a slow time in sports. And anybody that tells you it's the slow time in sports, it's people that don't know how to prep for a show. All right. So they just want to be able to read box scores and break stuff down. And when they don't have that, you rip the crutches away from them and they got to figure out how to hold their own and walk on their own. And they can't. But these provide you with some interesting insight as to what some people, especially in Vegas, think about the NFL and what could happen in the NFL in the upcoming season. And one of the biggest lies that I've seen in a long time from the gambling market out there was when the Coach of the Year odds came out for this upcoming season, and Kevin Stefanski was one of the favorites. I got news for you. All right, there's a better chance of Kevin McHale winning Coach of the Year this upcoming season than Kevin Stefanski. Why? Because he just won it last year. He's not going to win it 2 years in a row, Brady Quinn. And they were putting him up there at the top, and it made no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever to have him up at the top. It's a lie. They were lying, trying to get Browns fans all geeked out and excited again because their team finally had a winning record, and so they want to rally and throw their support at it like they're a bunch of tourists buying stuff at a gift shop. Well, Fox Bet, thank Christ, has actually corrected that, and they have bumped Stefanski down. He is no longer one of the favorites. He's still pretty high up for my liking, but they've got Kevin Stefanski as like the 8th to 10th favorite to win Coach of the Year. So I want to give credit to Fox Bet. Congratulations. You didn't continue on with the lie, trying to get Cleveland Browns fans geeked out about their season and hyped up for it by saying their coach was going to win Coach of the Year 2 years in a row, because it wasn't happening. About that.
I mean, I agree. It's tough to have any coach win 2 times in a row. Has it ever happened before, now that we think about it?
I don't know. And who cares?
Because usually the thought process is, especially in the NFL, is look what he's working with. Look at his roster. We're not going to vote for that guy. I mean, once you break the seal once, that's kind of the expectation. The expectation is, unless this team goes completely undefeated, he's probably not going to be it. There's probably going to be another coach. Like, for example, we talked about the Washington football team, Ron Rivera. Yes, they made it to the playoffs last year, but could you imagine if they have a winning record, they look to be a much better football team, and he does it with Ryan Fitzpatrick? I think there's going to be a lot of people who might want to say, man, Ron Rivera, he did a great coaching job last year. They won the division. He's the guy that maybe should get it this year. It's usually those sorts of feel-good stories or stories that end up, or coaches that end up winning that sort of award. But I'm with you. It's no different than MVP odds. Like right now, if you were to tell me the MVP odds, I would imagine that Patrick Mahomes is the favorite. Now, he's probably plus 230, plus 300, something like that. Yeah. I would say that's probably the odds. Maybe it's even a little bit higher than that right now if you're taking a futures bet.
Plus 550.
Okay, so here's what I'd tell you to all those people out there. If you think Patrick Mahomes is going to win the MVP, and I personally think he is the best quarterback, the best player in the NFL, go lay the money now. Because as soon as the season starts, that's only going to drop down significantly, unless he gets injured, which, that's obviously a risk that you're going to take. But who's probably not going to win it? Aaron Rodgers, because he just won it last year. And then aside from all the stuff that's going on, and he could play just as good, maybe even a little bit better, but we very seldom see back-to-back years, 2 times in a row, a league MVP. We don't see many times that happen, and in part because, and we're part of it, whether it's the media, whether it's the fans, everyone else, they like the next new shiny thing, all right? And so it's no different in this case. Like if I was looking for a guy that I think was in the conversation a little bit last year and is worth the juice and worth the risk is Josh Allen. Because I think if he has another year that's similar or a little bit better than what he did last year, he's going to be a name. He's going to be a guy up in the running. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. He's a guy that is probably, plus 1,200 at this point?
Well, I mean, listen, he's plus 1,100, that Josh Allen. But here, let's play a little game. I know you like these impromptu games here. Brady Quinn game show music, please. This has nothing to do with Brady Quinn's heritage. This has nothing to do with Brady Quinn's family, the last name Quinn, or his time in South Bend. Pure coincidence that this would be the game show music selection for Brady Quinn. So let's have this conversation when it comes to the MVP, Brady Quinn. So Patrick Mahomes is the favorite at plus 550. Can you name the next in the top 5. All right, can you name the other 4 in the top 5 favorites to be the MVP in the NFL this upcoming season? All right, why don't you take a
Rodgers
stab
has
at
to be
this?
part of it.
Rodgers is 2.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is 4.
Did you say Josh Allen was or was not?
Josh Allen is 3. Who's
Okay.
number 5?
Number 5, I would say it's going to be a running back. And so at this point, it's going to be, it's tough. Derrick Henry maybe at 5?
No. Number 5, think
Oh,
quarterback.
Kyler Murray.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Think
Russell
quarterback.
Wilson.
No. Think
Okay.
quarterback who. All right. This will be a good hint.
Dak
This will be a good
Prescott?
hint. Bingo, bango. Dak
Okay.
Prescott. I was going
Yeah,
to say, think quarterback who fleeced his organization every which way you possibly could in a contract negotiation, following his leg almost falling off in a game last year. And that would be your clue. But yes, Dak Prescott would be the guy. And I actually think there's value on Dak Prescott and following Dak Prescott. These are the MVP odds of the NFL season this upcoming year, according to Fox Bet. Matt Stafford. I think there's real value on Matt Stafford being the MVP.
What are the odds on Matt Stafford right now?
Plus 1,600.
Yeah. I would sprinkle a little bit on Stafford, Prescott, and Josh Allen. Because the rest, look, again, like I said, if you really, truly believe Mahomes is going to win it, and we've already seen him, have years that were great statistical years, but his biggest issue is he's his own worst enemy, meaning he set the bar for himself in his MVP season. So anytime he falls short of that, you almost go, oh, ho-hum. It's not that great of a year for Patrick Mahomes because we've already seen what his ceiling looks like as an MVP. And so that's always going to be his battle, I think, with public perception. But again, he could lead the league in touchdown passes. But if it's not going to be over 50, if it's not going to do what he's already done in his MVP season, it makes it hard for him to win it. And as dumb as that sounds, that's honestly, I think, what factors into some people's heads, especially the voters.
Well, it's a narrative-driven award. Remember, so Russell Wilson, and look, Russell Wilson loved this. Russell Wilson, that was the big conversation last year. Man, Russell Wilson's never received an MVP vote. Like, that was one of those, like, you kept hearing it every time we were previewing the NFL season. He gets off to that hot start, felt like he was going to be the guy, and then he ended up falling back, and Aaron Rodgers continued to play well. Josh Allen was in the conversation, and Russell Wilson fell off. There's going to be narratives built around Dak Prescott and Matt Stafford because Dak Prescott's returning from injury, and there's a lot of expectations, and he's going to be featured on Hard Knocks, so that's going to be a big topic of discussion, his rehab, how he looks in camp, and they're going to really blow it up and celebrate it because Jerry Jones is going to want his quarterback that he just had to pay a bunch of money for to look really good. So these odds, I think, are only going to get worse for Dak Prescott, meaning you're not going to make as much money because he's going to climb the list. And Matt Stafford, there's already been a built-in narrative. God, finally he has something around him. Finally Matt Stafford has a competent roster around him so we can actually see the real Matt Stafford. He's not handcuffed in Detroit. I'm telling you, man, Prescott and Matt Stafford are the two to look at if you want to make some money on the MVP. I'm telling you right now.
You know who gets shafted every single year? Aaron Donald. Donald outside of the quarterback position, because of the value with playing quarterback and what it means for that team, the impact on the team, he's the best player in the NFL. The level at which he's played for such a long period of time, the impact he has as an interior defensive player, it's crazy that he's not more in the conversation, that he doesn't get more first-place votes. I'm not trying to sound like one of those analyst douches out there who's going to say this, but when you turn on the film and watch an LA Rams game and you watch him up front, every single play is almost impacting the game. Like, he is such a pleasure to watch. And I get it. Watching the trenches is really boring for a lot of people. He's not, because the way he plays is so violent. It's so aggressive. His technique is unbelievable. And he just moves other 300-pound men, which is impressive to watch. So that's a guy that we didn't even talk about. One of these years, I think he's going to win it. I really do. And I don't know how much more time he has because he is getting up there in age. But as much as Matt Stafford is that new shiny toy, is in a new spot, and maybe he'll be appreciated more, because I'm with you. I think he's going to have a big year. I'd still love to see Aaron Donald win it. I really would. He deserves it.
Brady Quinn, Jonas Knox, Outkick the Coverage here on Fox Sports Radio. All right, so you mentioned it. Big fan of Aaron Donald. You will not believe who is considered more likely to be an MVP next season than the great Aaron Donald, one of the great players in the history of the game at his position, and you will not believe who is considered to have and expected to have a better season than him. We'll have the details next year on FSR.
This is Outkick the Coverage.
Geico knows there are many reasons why you ride. From the exciting adventure of the daily commute to the peace of mind that Geico always has your back with 24/7 access to claim service and legendary customer service. But Pamela Mund had one reason in particular.
My skin is extremely averse to most fabrics, except for the soft, buttery feeling of leather. Thankfully, I found my clan of leather lovers in the biking community. It's been life-changing.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Nope, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, so we are going to get into this discussion about how offended Aaron Donald should be upon seeing this. All right, so you're Aaron Donald. You're an all-time great player. How offended should he be seeing these names above him in the MVP race? So we're going to get to that here coming up in just one moment. I do want to mention this, though, because I forgot to mention it earlier. You don't drink a lot of soda, right, Brady Quinn? You're not a big pop guy, soda, pop, whatever they want to call it.
Unless it's like a mixer in an alcoholic beverage, no. I don't ever just like enjoy one on its own.
All right. So, and by the way, that's a whole nother discussion. In the Midwest, they call it pop. Out here, they call it soda. You don't really have many Midwest ties. I kind of do. But that again.
Here's why I know that you're not really from the Midwest. It's because they actually don't even call it pop. A lot of people in the Midwest, when they refer to any sort of soda, they'll say Coke.
Okay.
Like they'll just generally reference Coke.
All right. Very good.
So there you go.
Listen, they say the same thing in South Beach, but that's a whole nother discussion. All right. So the reason I bring it up is, do you remember the RC Cola? Remember RC Cola back in the day?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So apparently it's making a comeback. I had no idea. And so I saw it yesterday, and I had one. And I hadn't had one since. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now I get why people are addicted to that stuff. Like I get it. Because I remember it being my favorite cola. I remember RC being my favorite cola more than Pepsi, more than Coca-Cola. I remember RC as a kid. I always liked RC. I probably haven't had one, no joke, in 15 or 20 years. Easy 20 years. And I had one yesterday, and it was unbelievable. Unbelievable RC Cola. So for you pop heads out there,
hey, not a popular
it.
Opinion. I still think Coca-Cola is the best. I'd put RC over Pepsi, though. I would.
Okay, listen.
I'm just telling you right now, I would.
Look, and these are the hot discussions and topics that you would expect here the day after 4th of July. Here, we're just trying to get you guys through a hangover. That's all we're trying to do. All right. So if you're upset and you are a diehard, whatever it is, Pepsi Coke guy, I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just the way it has to be.
Mexican Coke. Good.
All right, Mexican Coke. Is that the stuff they sell on Narcos?
No.
What are you referring to there, Roberto?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Get your
is the Coke different down there?
They put real sugar in. They put real sugar in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Are you still like Coca-Cola still, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We're not talking about Chapo stuff.
Yeah,
man.
come on. He doesn't like it. It just smells good. What do you mean? Come on, guys. It's a powdered donut on his top lip. All right. Brady Quinn, so if you're Aaron Donald, tell me which one of these names offends you more. So the MVP odds are out, and we talked about, there's some value in the fact that you've got Dak Prescott at a plus 1,500, Matt Stafford. If this is a narrative-based award, and a lot of this stuff is, those two guys are going to have a lot of positive momentum and narrative behind their names. A guy on Twitter also just sent a screenshot. He's already made a bet after our discussion last segment on Matt Stafford to win the MVP. So now we need Matt Stafford to win the MVP because I don't want to cost people money here on the show. show. That's the last thing I want to do. So now I am now pot committed without actually being pot committed to Matt Stafford winning the MVP because listeners took our advice, our bad gambling advice, and went with Matt Stafford. But Aaron Donald, you mentioned it, top 3 all-around player in the NFL? Gotta be.
No. He is the best all-around player in the NFL.
All right. So number 1, best player in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which one of these, if you were Aaron Donald, which one of these names ahead of you in the MVP odds would offend you the most? All right. Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, or Jalen Hurts? Which one of those that are all considered to be more likely to be an MVP next year than Aaron Donald would you take most offense to?
Wow. There's three that stood out to me. Dalvin Cook, for starters, is tremendous, so that's not offensive by any means. But Wentz, who obviously got benched but is playing in a different place now, he's in a good situation, and he was playing at a level at one point in his career that was close to an MVP. If he would have stayed healthy that entire season, probably would have won the MVP 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm gonna remove Wentz from the list. I don't think that offends him quite as much. It's really down to Winston and Hurts. And Winston, who wasn't even a starter last year, but is in a good situation in New Orleans, but he's still got to win a quarterback competition. But he's thrown for over 5,000 yards. He's led the league in passing before. So he showcased the ability to throw 30 touchdown passes, over 5,000 yards. He's a former number 1 pick. So I think within that system, he could be actually a guy that could be like a long shot that, maybe ends up winning it. A good story. It's Hurts to me that I think he's just probably shaking his head. Because, look, even though he started for a short period of time, and we're assuming he's going to be the starter for this upcoming season, it doesn't make much sense. It really doesn't. I mean, I understand his dual threat ability, his ability to run. He hasn't showcased the ability to throw at the level at the NFL that would even come close to that award. So I think that's the one that probably bothers him most, even though, again, Winston, Wentz, those others probably bother him as well.
Yeah, and by the way, Deshaun Watson is a plus 4,000 to win MVP. Let me just go ahead and spoiler alert. And I'm not trying to give away the end of the movie here, but let me just go ahead and give you the ending to this movie. Deshaun Watson's not winning the MVP because B, Deshaun Watson's not playing 17 games this upcoming season. I don't care what anybody says. The NFL can stall on this and delay talking to him all they want. There's not a shot in hell that he plays every single game in the NFL next season. Zero chance. So if you have money on Deshaun Watson to win the MVP, you can go ahead and flush that bad boy because it ain't happening, Brady Quinn.
Which brings us to our long-standing question of what the hell is going on with the NFL and their investigation into Deshaun Watson and all of this. I mean, I really don't get it either. I really don't. I'm not sure how it's gotten to this point.
Major League Baseball stepped in right away, or not right away. There's some people are critical of what they did with Trevor Bauer, but they have stepped in and said, all right, he's being put on paid leave. We're not going to send him out there with all this stuff hanging over his head until we get some resolution here and we get to the bottom of what is going on. We're not going to send him out there to go pitch. Still, all this stuff is happening. You've got 20-something cases against Deshaun Watson. You got another 30 that have his back. So again, it brings up the big question of I don't have 50 mechanics. I don't have 50 hairstylists. For some reason, he needed 50 massage therapists. Who knows? Listen, everybody's body works differently. Maybe he's got one for each muscle. I have no idea. But point being, all this stuff is happening. And the NFL is just going to roll right into the season, and we're just going to expect that, like training camps kicking off in, 2-3 weeks from now? We got the preseasons kicking off in a little over a month from now, and we're just going to let this thing hang over everybody's heads and send them into the season? I don't get it. What's the delay? What's the stall job here?
Here's the hypocrisy of the NFL. If they really were about the integrity of the game and wanting to make sure there's parity, et cetera, they would have provided clarity much sooner with what their actions are going to be. Whether they're going to put them on the exempt list or not do anything. I mean, you would have figured they would have done this, being that they've never allowed what happens in a court of law to ultimately factor into all this, because we know how long the judicial system may be sometimes. And so because of that, they've usually decided to put a guy on the administrative list and give him paid leave for that period of time, the commissioner's exempt list, excuse me. And that's usually been their route. I have no idea why they're not doing that at this point. They can always bring him back off of that if they get more clarity, if there's a settlement, any of this. It's mind-boggling that they haven't done anything up to this point. But, for some reason now, the NFL, besides being so transparent like they used to be with these sorts of investigations, has become very tight-lipped about everything. And so, but that's the thing that bothers me is it's so hypocritical for them to be like, well, yeah, you want to put every team in the best possible chance to win. How is this helping the Houston Texans? Whether it's to trade him or if they can figure out a way to get him to want to come back and play for them, either way, it hurts the Houston Texans the longer they move forward without any sense of clarity whatsoever.
Does David Coley even bother unpacking? Honest question. Like, do you even bother unpacking at this point? Like, it's like when you're doing a one-night stay at a hotel. Does anybody actually take their clothes out of their bag? You just go, I'm not going to be here that long.
Look, I'm the type of person that does that, and the reason being is because you'd like to think that you want to get settled in, and you want to operate like you normally would, even if you're not staying that long.
Yeah, of course.
I think he's got to believe that they're going to be able to build this thing and come out on the other side. Whether they can or not, if he doesn't unpack, I think he's already admitting defeat. I think he's already admitting that he's not going to be able to get the job done there. I don't think anyone wants to actually admit that, whether they're thinking their head or not.
All right, so let's. There is apparently somebody that is going to be a winner, even though they're not. Regardless of what happens in the NBA Finals, if the Suns win, if the Bucks win, Brady Quinn, you've identified somebody that is going to be a winner no matter what. All right, so who is this somebody? All right, so what's the big unveil? Somebody's going to get a ring no matter what. Please explain. Who is this somebody? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing right now is not fully knowing you're going to go into this tease is there's a player that actually started this season on the Bucks and is now moved to play for the Phoenix Suns. And so no matter what, he will be receiving a ring, whether he wins with the Suns or even if he loses to the Bucks at some point, since he was on the roster at the beginning of the season. Now, his name escapes me at the moment because I was never given warning. Okay. We were actually going to do this segment right now.
All right, but
tremendous radio for you.
Okay, but big picture here. All right, big picture. I can't stand that rule. I think it's dumb. If you are on the team when your team wins a championship, you get a ring. This idea that we're going to retroactively hand out rings because somebody was on the roster week one doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it happens all the time. I think Nomar Garciaparra got traded away from the Red Sox. They won a World Series, and I think they voted on him getting a ring. If I was Nomar, I'm not accepting that ring. I don't want your ring. I was not even on the team. I didn't play. I was a bad high school football player. I tell you this, somebody who never played. When they brought out food after the game, I never ate because I didn't play. So I'm not going to accept a championship ring just because I was on the roster week one or at the beginning of the season and my team went on to win a championship. Yeah. Clearly, I wasn't there to help. That's why they got rid of me.
By the way, thank you for the help behind the scenes. Torrey Craig is the basketball player.
I think it was Torrey Craig.
Torrey Craig, I think is who it was. Who was with the Bucks earlier this season, and then now with the Phoenix Suns. But I'm with you on that. I remember someone asked me because I was with the Seahawks back in 2013, and they ended up going on to win the Super Bowl that year. And someone goes, "Hey, are you going to get a ring?" I was like, first off, why in God's name would I get a ring? I wasn't with them at any point in time during the season. In fact, I was on another team helping to prepare to beat them at a later point in that season. Why would I ever be given a ring when I was doing the best I could to help run scout team and talked about their scheme to our players and coaches to help the new team that I'm on win? Why would I ever get a ring for that? Even though I loved my time in Seattle, I didn't deserve it. It didn't make any sense. And I would never accept one, even if someone tried to present one to me. I'd be like, no thanks. Give that to someone else within the organization that worked with that team the entire year, has been there forever, that deserves it more than me. So, again, Torrey Craig will get one whether or not he wants it or not. But it's kind of an interesting position to be in. You don't usually see something like that happen in professional sports.
Well, and here's the other one. Say somebody is on a team that wins a Super Bowl. This is how I would feel. And maybe this is me just, not wanting to cut corners, whatever the case is. If I was on a team that won a Super Bowl and I played every single game of that season and I played all the playoff games, but for some reason when it came to the Super Bowl, I suited up but never took a snap, I wouldn't accept my ring. I need at least one snap. Whether kickoff, punt, you need somebody to hold, anything. I need at least one snap to feel like I earned that ring. So Bernie Kosar is a Super Bowl champion, and I credit him as a Super Bowl champion because he took a kneel down at the end of a Cowboys Super Bowl back in the 90s, and that counts to me. I need at least a kneel down. Has to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know. So if you and I go on to win a Super Bowl together, I need at least one play. I need one play.
That's not going to happen. But if that is the case, I'll go in and start, and then you can get the kneel down at the end.
All right, there you go. That's all I want. That's it. Just one play so I can feel validated. All right, Brady Quinn, Jonas Knox. It's Outkick the Coverage here on Fox Sports Radio. You can hang out with us, as always, on the iHeart Radio app. Coming up next here on FSR, there's a player in the NFL that has admitted a mistake. He has admitted it. I have made a mistake. He is calling himself out. We'll have that for you next here on FSR.
Be sure to catch live editions of Outkick the Coverage weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Pacific.
What's up, everyone? It's me, three-time NFL All-Pro Sean Merriman, and I have a new sports podcast called the Lights Out Podcast with Sean Merriman. This podcast is special to me as I get a chance to talk to some of the best who've ever done it on the field or the track. So whether it's talking to a Super Bowl champion or a NASCAR Cup Series champion, the Lights Out Podcast will bring it to you the only way I know how to. I'm giving you the best insight from the best who's ever done it. Listen to Lights Out with Sean Merriman on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
What was the best thing before sliced bread? Why does quicksand work so slowly? Is it possible to plan a surprise party for a psychic? Question everything. Hyundai did. It's how they came up with the new idea and thinking needed to create the all-new, totally reimagined Tucson, their best Tucson ever. Questions like just how big you can make an infotainment screen. In the Tucson, the answer turned out to be a huge 10 1/4 inches wide. Or can your phone be a spare key? Utilizing the Tucson's digital key technology, the answer is a resounding yes. Better yet, you can share it with up to 3 people. And how do you make peace of mind come standard in an SUV? Hyundai's reply is complimentary maintenance for 3 years or 36,000 miles. It's your journey. Discover all that's new along the way by test driving the totally reimagined 2022 Tucson at your nearest Hyundai dealer, or learn more at HyundaiUSA.com. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir?
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Brady Quinn and I will be back tomorrow here on the show, a Tuesday edition of Outkick the Coverage. We got game 1 of the NBA Finals that we're going to be taking a look at. Also, Petros Papadakis stops by. I'm sure he's going to have some thoughts on the old Reggie Bush Heisman stuff that's stirred up again, Brady Quinn. How about that?
Yeah. There's a lot of weird things going on in sports with, like, when people do something wrong and then they get caught for it or in trouble, it's like we just want to erase it.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand that. And I know it's a bigger philosophical conversation. We don't have time for it now, but it is kind of odd. It's like, well, if you knew something was wrong and you did it anyway, why should you be rewarded for it?
I know.
It's not complicated. We complicate the most simple things in this country because we want to make exceptions. And then the problem becomes, well, then are you going to make an exception for everyone?
Doug Gottlieb and Ryan Hollins are going to be doing a Dan Patrick coming up next here, a little over 10 minutes from now. And Doug got a bunch of, blowback because of his Sha'Carri Richardson comments. And it was basically the same thing. Like, she knew the rules. Yeah. She violated the rules. Yet it's this people, we're boycotting the Olympics if they don't let her run. It's like, hold on a second. Like she knew the rules, and I actually think she's handled it better than a lot of people in the media. Yeah. Like, she broke the rules. There's
two conversations to be had about it, all right? For one, the fact that she's able to run in a relay, but not individually, that to me is its own conversation, and it's kind of hypocritical and kind of stupid. And I understand there's the timing of it and all that stuff with the suspension, but either she should be able to or she shouldn't, right? Like I don't think that both should be there. And the one thing I hate saying is everyone tries to make everything about race. Michael Phelps, when he got popped, he was punished multiple times. He was suspended 6 months at one point in time for some of the issues that he had or he dealt with, okay? So let's not make this a race issue. There's other issues of athletes, people being popped for this kind of stuff. That's not what this is about. It's about how we look at, for example, something like cannabis and THC and the impacts and whether or not it should even be a banned substance. But the reality is, and much as I can talk about this from being drug tested forever, and my wife, an Olympic athlete who was drug tested forever, the athletes know the rules. You just abide by them. You make that sacrifice. Regardless of the circumstances, you make that sacrifice so you can do the thing you love and perform in it. And when you make that mistake, that's on you. Yeah. Like, we're not allowing this country anymore for people to be accountable or responsible for their mistakes. But that's not how this thing works. So I just, again, I don't think it's that complicated. I think we always make it way more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, the argument for, well, it shouldn't be illegal to begin with. Okay, but it is. Like, I don't. It's like, look, I remember the speed limit changed out here. It used to be 55, and then it got to 65. So what are we going to do now? Everybody that got popped going 64 when they were in a 55, they can go back retroactively and get their money back? No, tough balls. You got the speed it was illegal at the time. You deal with the repercussions. What she did was illegal, and you move on. It's a mistake. Mistakes were made. And because of all the notoriety that she's gotten, she's going to be fine. Like, she's ultimately going to end up being fine coming out of all this stuff. And like I said, I think she's actually handled it a lot better than people in the media have, because she admitted, I made a mistake. All right, Brady Quinn, speaking of mistakes, NFL players, look, they're a stubborn bunch. You being an NFL player, you've known to be a little bit stubborn from time to time when it comes to certain things. But apparently there's somebody in the NFL that is admitting a mistake. They're going to admit to a mistake that they've made here. I mean, you've got the breaking news here on Fox Sports Radio. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, it's not often you see a player who decides to leave his team right, and want to go somewhere else where he feels like there's greener pastures, and then admit, like, hey, that was a mistake. I should have stayed with that team. I should have taken less, or I should have signed back. Everson Griffin is basically willing to admit that. After last season playing with a couple of teams, both Dallas and Detroit, I think he's maybe seen that the grass is not always greener. Sometimes, especially when you're at a place for such a long period of time, and he was in Minnesota for almost a decade. Yeah. And so sometimes you can get accustomed to it, you can get used to it. Other organizations or other teams might have seemed a little shinier or better, or something where you want to go there because you think it's going to be a better experience, and it's not. And so it's a lesson of one, like him at least being cognizant of it. And being able to admit it, which is rare. But I think more so than that, like maybe, underestimating just sometimes how good you have things. And instead of not wanting to always look for the grass to be greener or look for that next new thing, sometimes you got to appreciate where you're at. And I think Everson Griffin obviously appreciated his time with the Minnesota Vikings, and would love to be back there and love to have the opportunity to be with an organization that has that sort of culture. And I think it's something that we don't talk about the Vikings that much in that regard. They've been pretty solid, man. Like, they've been really solid for a good period of time. And that's because they haven't won a Super Bowl, it tends to fly under the radar. But that's been an organization that I think has done it right. They've drafted well. They've done a lot of things right. They just haven't won a Super Bowl.
And look, if we're going to be honest about things, I don't know if they've been – their best chance to win a Super Bowl was with Case Keenum as their quarterback. Right, like that was their best opportunity to get to a Super Bowl. Minneapolis Miracle. Kirk Cousins has been good, but the problems haven't been Kirk Cousins. Like, I actually think he's played good football. I just think, defensively, they haven't been great, man. Like they just haven't been good the past couple
They've
years.
taken a step back since Kirk Cousins got there, which is a little bit ironic, right? I mean, they got younger in some spots. They struggled, I think, with some of that. Some of those draft picks, too, aren't even there anymore, so clearly that didn't work out. But they still have a good nucleus. I think it's a team that's definitely can still compete in the NFC. But you're right. They kind of had that magical year, right, where Stephon Diggs catches that, the Minneapolis Miracle, as they call it, to give them a shot at going to the NFC Championship game in Philly. But they just couldn't put it together. That was kind of the end of that run, and they've had a hard time getting back.
Yeah, it was when Marcus Williams of the Saints got abducted by aliens. At the biggest moment of his career. I don't know what the hell he was looking at.
Well, no, remember everyone was trying to make it be about defenseless receivers, and they had that new rule change.
Yeah, literally got abducted by an alien in the middle of an NFL playoff game. It's crazy.
Been thinking about McDonald's all day. Can't get it off my mind. I can already taste it. Ooh, got my mind on my mouth and my mouth ready for some Mickey D's deal.
There's a deal for every moment at McDonald's.
Right now, get 2 of your favorites for just $3.50. Mix and match a classic McChicken, a hot and spicy McChicken, or a juicy McDouble. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Hey, it's Chuck Bryant from Movie Crush, and I want to let you know about a very special episode where I speak with TV legend Alan Ball on the 20th anniversary of his landmark HBO show, 6 Feet Under. We cover everything from the show's inception to its legendary final season and finale.
So many people have said that it was such a strong ending that's it's definitely very gratifying. A lot of other great shows have not been quite so lucky.
So head over to Movie Crush wherever you find your favorite shows and check out our 6 Feet Under 20th anniversary special with Alan Ball.